Howdy, welcome back to Story Time. This is one that brings me back to this is probably 1983. Another, you know, I've said this numerous times. Seems like all my livelihood happened in the 80s. I reckon that might be true for most people. I don't know, depending on your age. But uh, when I was in high school, we had a lot of first aid training. Then when I coached high school football coming out of uh, high school, I had a little bit of first aid knowledge and what have you. And then when I, went to start dispatching for DSP once again, I had more, a little bit more first aid training, stuff like that. I'm not a paramedic by any means, but I had some little bit of knowledge. So try and without me drawing a diagram, let me see if I can do this properly on screen here. So picture like over here. I can't do this correctly. Let me do it the other way. Let me do it this way. Picture this is State Police Barracks. This right there is the high school. Well, anyway, down below there's this weird like where the Penny Hill Troop 1 was located, there was the Mount Pleasant High School, and then when you come the short distance down the road, probably even like it was like, just like a stone's throw, probably not even a quarter of a mile, you would take a right, go on Marsh Road, going towards I-95. So that was like a kind of like a little bit of a busier intersection. So when I got hired, as a dispatcher, I ended up buying a 1978 Jeep CJ5 from my cousin's new husband. Thing was, look, it was pretty nice to some degree. The body had a little bit of rust, but had the big knobby tires and all that stuff. So I just kind of liked it because I was a young dude. I could put the bikini top on, and people kept stealing my doors anyway. If you ever had a Jeep, you know what I'm talking about. The soft doors, people steal them left and right. But so I'm coming past the high school one day. I never forget this. It was like middle of August. And I may have talked about this one time, but I don't think I did a special feature on this. But this was kind of crazy. This whole episode just kind of like made me feel proud, but kind of disappointed me at the same token. Um, I'm coming down to the intersection and I'm getting ready to turn right on Marsh Road, and I see this big old like Lincoln, like the old Lincolns, like real big, like a tank. And I could see like something wasn't right about the driver, and I see he had kind of like rolled up onto this triangular elevated, I don't know what you call it, like a curb, like, and then I see his vehicle drifting back. So he didn't take a rocket scientist, and I'm far from that, but I realized, oh crap, there might be a medical emergency occurring here. I put my Jeep in neutral, put it in, put the emergency brake on. I run over, I open up the door. Thank God it was not locked. This guy had everything on his vehicle was all power locks and stuff like all power, everything. Open it up. I was able to reach in, slam it into park. So now I'm like, it's weird because I've had this training, not like real extensive training, but it was weird. Like how, like, I looked at this guy, big dude, I kid you not, he was well over 300 pounds. I couldn't tell his height by him sitting in this thing, but he was probably, if I had to guess, 6'4"ish, probably a big dude. And he was an older dude. And he's pretty much like convulsing. And I see his eyes kind of rolling up into his head. And so I'm thinking, all right, like I didn't want to get him out of the vehicle because it was weird because I've never really, at that young of an age, I never really had been in a stressful situation other than my own self when I was choking. Fortunately, I was able to handle that correctly. Um, I knew we didn't want to get him out of the vehicle and lay him on the hot asphalt, which was probably 110, 120, 130 degrees. I have no idea. But I did want to get him in kind of like in the prone position somewhat, or have the ability to get him out of the vehicle so the paramedics could get in. And he had so many electronics in there. I had a hard time finding the tilt wheel mechanism. It was real low in his the front of his thighs, like closer to his crotch area. So I could see he was convulsing, and he was kind of like vomiting somewhat. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, I know what to do here. I know what not to do. At the same time, a young person, a little bit younger than me, comes up and he says, "I'm with the Brandywine Fire Department. I can help." So I just kind of like concede, even though I realized the person looked pretty young. So the first thing the person did, which I knew was like a big, big no-no, was what I had been trying to do was turn the gentleman's head to an angle, like closer to the driver's side of the vehicle. So because now we had the back door open as well, and I was able to get the reclining seat to recline as much as it could, and I was trying to turn his head. I did not want him to choke on his own tongue. Then this kid comes up and he puts his finger in his mouth, trying to pretty much make sure the guy doesn't choke on his tongue. Well, I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one on YouTube. Everything I've ever been told is you don't want to do that because if they're having a seizure at that point, we had not diagnosed. I'm not a doctor. I was figuring it's either a heart attack or a seizure. I did not want this kid to lose his finger if the guy seized up and just literally bit his finger off, then choked on his finger and his tongue. So at that point, I kind of like pushed him back. I said, "No, dude, I'm taking over. Like, just give me a little time here. We're gonna work this out." And because I knew that was not the right thing to do. Once again, that is when you're in a stressful situation, you really don't look. You don't have time to be politically correct sometimes. Sometimes you just have to do what you think is best for the situation. And kind of like, this is some things I've learned over life. Sometimes you have to take control of the situation because another person may not be fully as educated as you might be. Not that I'm like super highly educated or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I do have a little bit of college education, but like at that point, I said, all right, like something told me, clicked in my brain. All right, I did the following steps. I kept his head tilted to the side. I kept watching him. I reached into his pants, all his pockets, grabbed his wallet. At one time, I used to wear I called it like a medic alert necklace. It was basically like a chain and had like a Red Cross symbol on it. It showed on the back of it that I had an allergy to penicillin. But that chain kept breaking off because I was always shooting hoops or doing something where, it just was breaking off. Sometimes they have those bracelets that you can have. So my instincts, having a little bit of knowledge of, all right, we need to prepare as many medical people as possible for what could be transpiring here. So I checked him for a necklace. He did not. I checked him for a bracelet. He did not have that. I opened up his wallet, and it was really thick. Like there was probably a lot of money in there, probably a lot of credit cards. But when I opened it up, on the inside, not even tucked into like a little compartment or whatever, falls out. It was a doctor's appointment card with the cardiologist, and it was the same day that this was occurring. And it was like 30 or 40 minutes prior, or excuse me, it was probably 30, maybe like an hour after, after his appointment, that this was occurring. So I'm like, wow, man, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, you at least, you're prepared. So, so I'm thinking, all right, so at that point, incidentally, like a trooper pulls up, really nice guy. I love the guy. Ended up working with him later years. Guy named Clem Truitt. Clem Truitt rolls up, and I said, Corporal Truitt, this is his medical information. This is cardiologist. He could be having a heart attack. I said, please notify the hospital, EMTs, whatever you got to do. Have them on alert. Be aware that this potentially could be a heart attack. I still don't know if it's stroke, but I kept seeing his eyes roll up and in and out of his head, and I did check for a pulse. He was still breathing, and so like all that. So I was not really in a position to do CPR just due to the configuration, but I knew the guy was still breathing, still had a heartbeat, still had a pulse. So I was like, all right, that so far so good, not looking good, but I think we can prevent further problems in this possibly tragic situation. So then finally the ambulance shows up, the fire department, all this stuff, and come to find out that trooper never relayed the information to anybody. He just kind of like dismissed me. Really pissed me off that people at the ER could have been really prepared, already been perhaps, dialoguing with his cardiologist and everything like that. So I called probably 4, 5, 6 times that night to the hospital. I kept telling them, like, hey, I'm the one that kind of found this guy. I really want to know. I want to check on his status. This is, and then finally, I did get somebody to talk to. I think it was a doctor or something. Like, that was the old days. Like now, they would never release that type of information. I said, look, I'm telling you, like, I'm concerned. I'm the guy that found the guy, and I just want to know, did he have seizures? Did he have, it turned out he had a massive heart attack, like an hour after he left his cardiologist. So that was really, really impactful to me. Impactful seems like to be my word of the last 2 months, but it kind of pertains to, this story and stuff like that, because it really was impactful to me in so many ways, because I'm like, you always like, if you're ever in a stressful situation, I've always said this before, like any type of law enforcement situation, not even related to me in any way, but I'm saying like any police, you're always rehashing, like, did I do this right? Did I do that? You always hear different, law enforcement people or whatever it is, in any high stress situation, like everything is going so quick. You're just kind of reacting and hoping you're doing your best, and hopefully your response is going to be the correct action or whatever. So I kept thinking about when I went home that night, and I kept waiting for somebody to call me. Then I made all those phone calls. Then I found out the guy did have a massive heart attack. He was still alive, fortunately. The doctor said it. He was still alive and probably was going to survive, but probably not survive for like a real long time, something to that nature, due to his previous issues and stuff like that. So um, I I haven't really, I haven't worn that medic alert necklace. I think now there's like a medic alert thing that they use for senior citizens. Help, I've fallen down, I can't get up. Like my mom kind of like was duped into that like 3 times. So now she gets 3 monthly bills for the medic alert necklace. Help, the one she has doesn't even work. But basically, they used to be able to go to like where I grew up. There was Rite Aid drugstores, Eckerd Drugs. Down here in Florida, there's CVS and Walgreens. I don't know if they still exist. You can get a bracelet or a necklace that just basically had like a Red Cross, or like it's not the Red Cross symbol. It's like the symbol for um, fire department or medics or something that's like that. It kind of looks like a Red Cross symbol, and so it's something like that. So on the back it would say allergy to penicillin, or allergy to whatever, just stupidity or whatever. But in all seriousness, those things I thought were pretty cool back in the day. Now it's like, I don't know if that's still around. That's what made me what what made me go into that thought process. I checked for a necklace, he did not have it. I checked for a bracelet, he did not have it. So I right away I'm thinking like, just keep digging, you're going to find something. And I didn't know I was going to find something, but I was hoping I could find something. Then I found that card from the cardiologist, and I think the process could have been handled a little bit better. I pretty much previously stated, but it did work out for a little while. I don't think that guy lived too much longer after that, but it was interesting. So I encourage everybody to go out there and learn first aid, CPR, all the, as much as you can. I have been to the fire department numerous times, and since then, like way, because in Florida and different states, you have to be CPR or first aid registered to become a high school football coach. So I've had a lot of that training since then. At that time, I hadn't had a ton, I had a little bit. So I do encourage people to try and reach out to your local fire department, and see if you can, register your family, your kids, whatever, to learn a little bit of first aid and safety, because it really literally could save your life, your family's life, or just a passerby. So that's my message I'm ending tonight. Think safety at all times if you can. Peace out.